How's it going, everybody? Hope we are all doing all right today. Back with a brand new video here at Campfire Stories Lancashire, and I tell you something, guys, it is a mild day here in Blackburn, Lancashire, UK. I wish it had been a lot milder yesterday when I went for a little dip in the ocean, which we'll talk about today in this video in a little while. But yeah, super mild day. It's the 3rd of March, and even though it is still late winter, spring is definitely on the way. Weather is getting milder by the day, and daffodils are starting to come through. There's another type of flower that shoots through the ground. I don't know, my mum and my parents are going to be laughing their asses off at this point in the video, so I can't think what it's called. But yeah, the point I'm getting is that spring is definitely on the way. And yeah, today's video I want to talk about the very real dangers pertaining to swimming in cold water, either it be in the lakes or in the sea. I want to talk a little bit about that and how that pertains to, you know, being an outdoorsy person like myself, and people who watch this channel, and people who are wanting to get into the outdoors. But of course, it's Campfire Stories Lancashire, so we're going to talk about some other things as well. So if you'd like to find out what they are, please stay tuned. So, as I mentioned, very briefly, mind you, at the beginning of this video, yesterday I went for a little dip in the sea. Alright, it's March, we're nearly in spring, it's acceptable for me, socially, to be seen in the ocean, in my trunks. And yeah, that's one of my things that I enjoy doing, more or less, you know, most times a year. Whenever we go to the coast, I'll always take a towel and my trunks with me and have a quick 20 minutes in ocean. I think it's really good exercise. It's really, that cold water, you know, it's really good for your bones and your muscles, especially, you know, when you're a very active person. And not that I'm saying I'm very active, I could be more active, but you know, like for example, if you've done like a mad 12-13 mile hike through the lakes, you jump into a little freshwater pond, yeah, it's going to be cold, but it's good for your muscles, it's good to relax them. You know, and it's just about being very zen, being out in nature, being at one with nature. I love it. I love going in the ocean. And you know, most times of the year, even that odd rare 25-degree day we'll get in the summer, which is very rare in the UK. Even when you get in the sea, then the water is cold and it hits you, not to sound cliche, like 1,000 knives stabbing you all over your body. But yesterday, I think I definitely overestimated the power of Mother Nature, because I got into the ocean, guys, and I think I suffered with some very mild symptoms of shock. So I'm lucky to be here, really. So yeah, I got talking to my dad about it, and you know, he came up with the idea, why don't you make a video about, you know, swimming in lakes and reservoirs as we you know, go into the spring, because it is getting milder and people are going to start being bold and adventurous and, you know, more than likely tanked up like myself. And, you know, a lot of people who fall into reservoirs by accident, if they're drunk, will not stand a chance. But yeah, my dad did manage to capture some footage of me going into the ocean, so let's have a little look at that now. Oh, it's cold. It's bloody freezing. Wait for it. Splash. Splash. Just covering himself in water. Go on. Oh, wait for it. Meditating now. Meditating. Oh. Turn round, please. Oh, in we go. Ready? See an island. I think it's what you might well call a chicken. It's got out. It's got out. Do you know, I was actually really surprised just then. Just did a quick Google search. How many people drown every year in the UK in, you know, the sea and lakes and things like that, reservoirs. It's a very, very low number. It's still a number, of course, not taking that away from me, but I was thinking, you know, with what a nation of pissheads we are in this country, it'd be in the thousands, but it was a very much lower figure. 400 people die every year by drowning in the UK, and then a further 200 take their own lives by, you know, drowning themselves. So 400 accidental deaths. I mean, that's an average figure. Quite surprised by that. suppose it shows really that, you know, maybe as a nation we're quite safe around water, more so than what I thought, because, you know, obviously my dad, who's no stranger to this channel, he was a paramedic. That's what he did for a career, and sadly he, you know, recovered deceased humans from water throughout his career, which of course must have been horrendous. Right guys, slight problem. My camera keeps going off because it's raining, so I'm going to have to try and make this quick and get back to the forest where hopefully I can continue filming. But I just wanted to show you the famous lagoon at the top of Billinge Wood here, and just, you know, as it's getting warmer and into the summer, how inviting that would be just to cool down in. You know, and as I've said before, this is my favourite spot in the whole of Blackburn. I love coming up here and chilling out. Having said that, from the top of there you can actually see in this lake, this little pond, it wouldn't be a very good swim because it's mainly just algae and moss that's in there. But it's just I just wanted to show you it. This would be, you know, a death trap if you're not being sort of wary and mindful of the dangers of cold water in this country. Well guys, I'm back at my shelter now, and it's been a bit of an impromptu weather change, unfortunately. All this rain, it keeps cutting my camera out, which is very annoying. Well, whatever. What can you do? I'm going to try and salvage what I can from this video to upload something, and then I'll just have to come up another time and do another video, because I wanted to talk about vampires today. That was going to be our cryptid special today. But yeah, it weren't supposed to rain that much today. Do you know what I mean? It was a bit of rain this morning, I believe, but then after that it were to be fine. But it's probably because I'm up high, you know, and how obviously clouds they reach the top of here before they do the bottom of Blackburn. So I'm going to try and get my fire going, make me dinner, see how that goes. And yeah, who knows, we might be able to continue filming if the rain does pass a little bit. But yeah, it's pretty much like to be 90% precipitation all day. So what can you do though? Not the end of the world. I'm going to just keep filming while the camera's still rolling. I might be able to get some of my points across that I wanted to talk about. Because when I went in the sea, as you saw in that video, I weren't in for 20 minutes, I was in for 20 seconds. Yeah, it was really, really cold. Just take my word for it. I reckon temperature of water were about 7 degrees maybe. Plus it was raining a little bit as well. And as soon as I got out of the water, you know, like, as you can see in the video, I was flailing my arms and, you know, like I was doing this with my toes and my fingers to keep the feeling running through them. And my body just started burning up immediately from like my neck down. Felt like I was on fire. And yeah, that was intense. That and I've read about that before, because obviously your heart is pumping all the blood around your body to keep it going. You know what I mean? Like, you've gone into emergency mode essentially. And yeah, I knew what was going on. Like, I knew that this is what's happening right now. So I got back to my dad pronto, and my knees went blue. It was really scary. But you've got to be mindful, and you've got to make peace with what's happening with your body, and don't panic. I'm really into my mindfulness at the moment. I've been reading a lot of Ant Middleton from SAS, and he's obviously an incredibly mindful bloke, and all dangerous situations he's been in his life, being a former SAS operative. So yeah, I was just practicing my mindfulness and keeping calm, and realising, you know, once I get my clothes back on, once I get a hot drink in me, I'll feel a lot better. And then once the burning feeling went, it was replaced by a really cold feeling. So yeah, I suppose that's just what shock does to you. And I think that's probably what happened. I went into a very, very mild shock. Now, I was having a good chat with my dad about this morning. And as I said before, my dad were a paramedic, so he's been around the block. He knows what he's doing when it comes to human health and preserving lives. And disclaimer, guys, I am not a medical professional. So if I've made some mistakes talking about this, before you jump down my throat, just bear that in mind. I know a lot about I know a lot about animal health and animal biology. Not so much humans though. But yeah, he was actually saying that if you drown in cold water, there's a greater chance of resuscitating a person. Something, and you know, bringing the brain back, essentially, with there being as little damage to it as possible. And it's something to do with how cold the water is. It basically stuns the body, as opposed to drowning in warm water. And yeah, we did a quick Google search, and that seems to be the consensus amongst medical science and medical journals and things like that. So yeah, very, very interesting as that. But the point I'm making, guys, is if you're gonna jump into a lake, or don't jump into a reservoir because they're death traps, but if you're gonna go for a swim in the ocean like I do, you know, just be very careful and have a game plan. You know what I mean? As soon as you get out, have dry clothes ready for you. And if you're on your own, make sure someone knows where you're going. Because, you know, I think if I'd have stayed in that sea for much longer, I probably would have started to experience hypothermia. And, you know, hypothermia is a very dangerous thing because it tricks your body into essentially thinking everything's okay. And if I'd have stayed in there longer than what I should have been in there, then yeah, the nature of this video could have been much different. So yeah. But yeah, I feel like there was someone else I wanted to say about this subject. That's it. The UK is a, you know, moderately mild country at the best of times. And even when I go in the ocean in the summer, you know, the odd 25-degree day that we get, it still shocks you, the coldness of that water. You know, you start hyperventilating. It's like, you know, your body's taking raspy breaths to pump oxygen into your blood, keep you going. And again, you see it in the video when I'm like really clasping my hands and my dad's taking the mick out of me saying I'm meditating. Well, that was a little bit, but I was taking really deep breaths because eventually your body does acclimatise. It takes a bit of time, but it does eventually acclimatise. So yeah, just don't go diving straight in. Do you know what I mean? Like, get in the water and get used to the temperature of it before you start having a little, you know, breaststroke in there, or a front crawl or whatever, a butterfly. Because I love it when it's really warm. I love doing a nice, you know, butterfly back crawl thing, looking up at the sun in the nice warm, well, the cold ocean. So yeah, let's get the fire going. Guys, I think I'm actually winning against the weather today. Got me fire going, boys. No can stop me now. So let's crack on. Let's have a talk about vampires And of course, the most famous of the vampires is Dracula, who he's a fictional character from Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, and of course that has captured the imagination of the Western world, for decades since it's been adapted into a film. The book itself is an old one. I want to say like maybe 19th century it was written. Might even be longer back than that. And yeah, I think in its ideas and its philosophies about how it grapples with the idea of, I fear of mortality, essentially, because ultimately that's what vampires are. They're afraid to die, and they obviously they suck the blood of the victims, don't they, to stay alive. But within the blood is lives, not life, lives. And I think that's a really interesting idea, is that. And there could be some truth to that, because of course there are animals on planet Earth that do drink blood to stay alive. There's vampire bats, there's different leeches and various species of worms, and that will suck blood, ticks and mites and things like that. Very primitive life forms that they have this adaptation to stay alive by doing that. And I think that can be applied to vampires as well. But yeah, a bit of backstory on Dracula. I mean, it's widely believed that he was inspired by a very real person called Vlad the Impaler, who was Romanian, formerly Transylvania, which of course that's where Dracula is set. And he was I want to say maybe like a king or an emperor or something like that. And he was, as his name states, he would impale his enemies, people who oppressed against him and his nation, around his castles on massive, great big stakes and spikes. And it was intimidatory, obviously, but that's where he got his reputation from. But the legend of Vlad the Impaler was that he would also drink blood as well. So, was he a vampire? Obviously, no. A long time ago. We're talking 13th century. But within, obviously, our own species, human beings, as I've touched on this before, pertaining to Bigfoot and other species of humanoid creatures out there, like dogmen and possibly UFOs, extraterrestrials. There are other humanoid species out there, and within the fossil record, of course, we know that there are other species of humans that have existed. Neanderthals, Homo erectus, Homo familiaris, and so on and so forth. And I've talked about furries. Are they some sort of humanoid species that lives quietly and undetected in the world? What if it's the same with vampires? What if there is this relic prehistoric species of human being that evolved to live off of blood, and that's where vampires came from, essentially? Yeah, very interesting. Something else that I wanted to talk about as well, guys, is the parietal eye, the third eye, which so it's what it says on the tin. It is an eye that's basically underneath our skin, and it's seen throughout the animal kingdom. Cats have it, dogs have it, a lot of lizards, they have it on the top of their head. And if you go behind them, they can sense you coming, and more often than not, they'll turn around because they can sense you coming towards them. But within the realms of the supernatural, paranormal, things that we're into, the third eye is something that's more linked to spirituality. And we all have a third eye, I believe, and it can be opened by these sort of amazing supernatural events that happen to us in our lives, like when I obviously saw Bigfoot back in 2018. And I think once that third eye is opened, I think you essentially become a conduit for other supernatural paranormal activity to occur to you, and you increase your likelihood of those things happening again, reoccurring, I should say. Because I'm of the mindset that since I had my sighting, I've experienced a lot of weird things in these woods that I wasn't formerly aware of. As I've said many times, I've heard what I believe to be Bigfoot type creatures vocalizing early in the morning, and sometimes in the evening I've heard the odd tree knock. And you know, there was one time when I was out late at night and I heard a whistle, crystal clear, which was very scary. And yeah, back in October when I had what I believe to be a sighting of a UFO craft, little oblong tic-tac shape that went flying over my head when I was walking home from work one night. I think they're watching me, guys. I think the aliens are watching me. I think they're keeping an eye on me because they know what I've seen and what I'm, you know, catching on to. I'm opening up the secrets of the universe and realising that all this is interconnected. Bigfoot, you know, ghosts, UFOs, lake monsters, dogmen. I think it's all spirituality, it's all connected theories. And I've spoke about this before. I think it's coming. The lifting of the veil between our world and the spirit realm. I think it's coming. It's going to be soon. Maybe in our lifetime, maybe not. But yeah, I really do believe there's a lot of truth to the parietal eye, or the third eye. Tell you what, guys, this rain is just coming down harder and harder. I'm probably going to get packed up and head home soon. But I'm happy that I've had my dinner and I've managed to get the fire going. It's been really nice. Didn't really need the tarp, to be fair, so I'm wrapped up properly. One thing I did want to mention just before I go home actually was there was one day last week, a week before, when I came up at night actually, after work, came up to have a little campfire at dark. Anyway, while I was sat up here and I was just tooting away at my pipe, that direction, I could see a pair of red eyes looking at me the entire time. I tell you what, combined with nicotine rush and being slightly on edge of being out here at night, it freaked me out. So yeah, anyway, a couple of days later, came up with one of the lads I look after at work. We had a little fire up here as it was going dark, and I saw the eyes again. But they weren't eyes, it was just some house lights. Yeah, just some house lights in distance, but the position of them together did look like eyes. And then it's when I clocked it, I was just sat with one of the lads and we were having marshmallows on fire. I thought, there they are again. And then that's when I realised, I thought, wait a minute, they're in the exact same place. They're not eyes, it's just house lights in distance. Oh well. So that's it, guys. All packed up, ready to go home. Yeah, hopefully the rain and the cold weather has not interfered with the audio on this video. I shall find that out when I get home and start editing. But yeah, hopefully this video will be up later today. And yeah, I'm just going to conclude there really. Not much more else really to add or say. But as always, I hope you've enjoyed this video, those who've made it through to the end. I appreciate your loyalty to the channel. Leave us a like if you want, leave us a comment on any thoughts that you may have. I'm sure Mr. Simon Clark, sir, you will no doubt have some very interesting thoughts to share with me on the whole, you know, swimming in water, in cold water, being a military man, obviously. I'm sure you had your fair share of experiences with that kind of realm and environment. But yeah, share this on social media if you want. And yeah, got a couple more videos lined up soon, so hopefully I won't be away too long, and I'll see you all further on down the road. Bye bye.